Chris Williams, Cyclone Fanatic, covers the Big 12, has his own podcast, and gave us time for ours. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys.
Chris, how you doing? And let's you've seen kind of the turf war, the message coming out of SEC Media Days. Big 12 started theirs spring meetings today. Well, how do you look at all of this like almost leading into a convention with everybody having their own, I guess, narrative right now?
Oh, man, that's loaded, dude. I could talk to you for 4 hours about what those crooks are trying to do down in Florida.
Well, go ahead. We've got 4. We'll go until 8 o'clock. That's fine. 9 o'clock.
I just, it's one of those things where, like, every problem that these guys are complaining about right now, it feels like that was self-created. A situation where at the end of the day, it kind of comes back to just human nature with me, guys. And unfortunately, most people look out for themselves before the greater whole. And like you look over the course of like the world history, it's like the greatest leaders, what do they all have in common, right? They look out for more than themselves, and they look out for the greater good. And it's just so rare. And what you've got right now, this has always been the problem with college athletics, right? Where schools look out for themselves, the coaches look out for themselves, the conferences look out for themselves. There's nobody who's ever looked out for the greater whole. And that's it's never been more prevalent than right now, where what these guys are going to do is they're going to say, we don't want this Super League. No, we want everybody to be, but they're going to keep sucking the revenue away from everybody else. And then nobody else is going to be able to survive. And then in like 10 years, they're going to be like, oh, man, it's a real shame those other conferences couldn't keep up, Like, we really didn't want to do this, but now, we're going to keep all the money from ourselves and go and do our own thing. So it's like plausible deniability. That it just – and then my other thing – all right, sorry. Now you guys got me going now.
No.
What happened to the Big Ten that I knew that had a spine that would stand up to these losers? That would, where's the Jim Delaney Big Ten that would, puff their chest? Because we used to have like a balance of power between the two, where you had the perceived rednecks down in the SEC, right? And then you had the elitists up north in the Big Ten, and they would kind of like balance each other out. And then wherever the Big 12 fit in and the ACC or whatever, and like, it was like good. There was competitiveness there. And now it's just like, oh, great. This would be like China and Russia are teaming up now, right? That's how I look at it. The whole thing just sucks. I hate it.
Yeah. Well, and sorry, I asked.
Chris,
I think it's like, it's funny that I mean, Sankey's the one who talks and Tony Petitti doesn't.
Yeah,
but
he's a coward.
Yeah. Yeah. But Sankey gets mad about this and complains and all these things. Look, every other league has not gotten, even the Big Ten in the 14 playoff and all that has gotten left out of it. Every team except you got 3 teams in last year instead of 4. And now you're questioning the very existence of the committee because it didn't work out for you one time in 11 years. That's insane.
I think the whole thing's a farce, too. I think the only thing that they care about are these stupid playing games that they want to bring, this new, like, tournament or whatever, so they can keep the revenue. I think that they are using the automatic bid thing is, like, because I think that they know at the end of the day they're probably going to get these teams in anyways. But what they want is that guarantee that they're going to have the 4, so that they can stage these stupid play-in tournaments with like their 6th place team. And remember, these are the same cowards that used to preach to us about the sanctity of the regular season, right? They all just talk in circles. And they don't have any money either. Everybody's broke in college athletics, but they're eating $300 meals, on the beach right now. So like the whole thing, it just makes me sick for the sport that I know we all love and grew up loving. And it's not the end of the world. I saw that Josh Pate said something like all this stuff's going to keep going. But the problem is, and you guys know this in Big 12 countries, like I'm an Iowa State guy, and like, let's say in a world where the Big 12 is off doing its own thing, my friends and like Iowa State people, they're not going to be like, oh, let's just pick an SEC team now. Like, that's not how it goes. Like, the betterment of the whole is a really big deal. Like, they're not going to. My friend across the street who roots for the Cyclones isn't going to be like, oh, okay, I'm an Alabama fan today. They won't watch. They really won't. We have the NFL for that. It's a better product. I'll watch that.
No doubt, Chris, and yeah, it's good
Man,
to know.
I love what you just said.
Good to know
Go
that
ahead,
nobody's
Devin.
going to jump over and be a Hawkeye, right? I mean, that would just be the
Oh.
Absolutely not. Well, but that's what makes college athletics so great, right?
Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
Right? Like, we have these traditions, and like, oh, I met my wife on that campus, and my uncle went there, and like you don't. Most of the time, you don't choose like which school you root for. You're kind of like born into it in a way, or you go to the college and it becomes a part of you. Like, for instance, like my mom was born and raised in South Carolina, grew up a Gamecock fan. I had multiple uncles who were professors there. So like I had this natural tie, like we always kind of watched them. I didn't just randomly be like, oh, Lou Holtz is there, I'm going to root for South Carolina one. Like, it's not what happens in college athletics. So it's like, this idea that we're going to go to this Super League and all of these people who watch the Mountain West, these Boise State fans, are just going to pluck a Big Ten team and start like, it won't happen. It's going to hurt them too. But they are too stubborn and greedy to see it themselves.
Chris, I've seen your comments along these lines on Twitter and whatnot. And I know you don't suffer from any delusions of grandeur. You don't think that there's a path for the Big 12 to compete on the same level and make the same money. I think we're on the same page there.
No,
but
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't. That's not realistic. And you know, anything floating that idea, I just think is kind of a waste of time. So where do you see the Big 12's place now moving forward? What do you think about the league and just these moments where Brett Yormark, it's like, when do you call a bluff and when do you not? And when do you have power to maybe do something and when do you not? I mean, you're kind of at the mercy of everything, but we still want to see you fight. Like, so just how have you kind of watched the Big 12 evolve over these last couple of years? And what do you make of the league at this point it's standing in the bigger picture?
I just want it to have a chance, guys. Like that's all I care about. Like I'm not like, no, I don't think that financially it's ever going to be on the same path or perception wise as the SEC. That's not even what I'm asking for. But like, what I don't want is a predetermined you suck going into every season. Like, well, best case scenario, you're going to get 2 like that. Like, imagine if we did that with the NCAA basketball tournament the last 50 years, where it's like every year there's going to be 6 leagues and they all have 10 participants, no matter how bad the league is, no matter how good the teams are, right? Like, that would ruin it for me. I loved Bob Bowlesby. I don't know many people who could say anything negative about the guy. I'm really glad it's Yormark now, because I feel like the Big 12 really needs a dude who will say something to your face, lie to you, and shank you in the alley. Because that's what all these other guys are doing. They're all liars. And I'm not questioning like Brett's character. That's not what I'm trying to do. But he comes from a world of like really intense negotiations. And I don't think that Greg Sankey particularly intimidates Brett Yormark. And regardless of what I think of like the football, like to me, I do think there's an opportunity though, guys, going forward where these players still want to play. Like I think you're gonna have a ton of really good transfers that develop at Georgia and they get to their sophomore year and they keep bringing in transfers and recruiting over them and they're going to quote unquote drop down. And I think that's where our league really can thrive. And if you do that, like haven't we seen that with Big 12 basketball? They're not winning with one and done guys. They're getting really experienced guys who play well together, They play. Look at Baylor. Like, it's a great example of like Drew's maturation with that program over the years, and like they're way better now that they're not just living on the most talented guys. Like Scott always finds a way to get them to play together, and like right, like look at like Kansas State last year. We all thought, oh, they're bringing it, but they didn't play well together, right? So, like to me, that's where I think Big 12 football, like you can still develop guys in that league because they're not going to be as transfer. You're going to lose some to the bigger leagues and money and all that. But I also think there's going to be this heap of really good talent that will quote unquote drop down. And that's where the Big 12 can pick it up and I think win some football games. I really, really, truly believe that. But again, what we can't have is like this predetermined outcome before any of the games have been played. What are we doing?
Chris, I agree. I think we're already starting to see it a little bit with, I mean, the like part of the reason that the SEC, while they're still ahead in their race, they're not Usain Bolting this to the gold anymore is because if you've got a 5-star who's a sophomore who hasn't played yet because there's another guy at his exact position in front of him, well, then I might go play for Deion Sanders. I might go play for Matt Campbell because this guy and I came at the same time. We're both left guards. I've got to go somewhere they need a left guard. Still would love to be at Alabama, but bottom line is I'm not going to play at Alabama. So
have you ever met an 18-year-old recruit that doesn't think they're the best player on the planet?
No, that's because they're treated that way as soon as they walk on campus.
They all go into fall camp that first year thinking they're going to start. And then all of a sudden reality hits them and they're like, oh, these other guys are pretty good too. And like, eventually, like Iowa State has a couple wide receivers this year who they're probably undervalued because of what they just lost to the pros. And I don't know that these two guys are going to be that good. But I do think that it's a great example of what I'm talking. I think these guys are completely undervalued, like across the league. And it's perceived that, they aren't any good. But it's amazing what a change of scenery and a little development can do for a 21-year-old sometimes. And while it might be enticing, like, oh, well, the SEC's base salary is more than that of a Big 12 school. Okay, that's cool. But eventually, like, these guys want to get to the NFL, and it's harder to do that when you're never playing or when you get this guy's a bench player. Like, eventually they want to, and we've seen it for years, like in college football, where these quarterbacks would drop down, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, Blaine Gabbert's brothers in the Miami of Ohio is an example that came to my mind, right? Where these good players go down, and then they kind of just show back up, and they have a really nice 2-year career at the Group of 5 level. And I don't want to just throw the Big 12. I'm not saying it's a Group of 5 league. I don't believe that, but I think what we're seeing is just the whole sport is changing. And if that is perceived to be the top level, I think it's like a 1B type thing. But let's see how it develops, because we see this in basketball all the time right now. Like, just because you have 11 new players all from the portal doesn't mean you're going to win, even though they're the most talented. And that's where, like, I think Campbell, at Iowa State, listen, I don't know if they're going to, like, win it big and, like, go. But I also think that this is a massive advantage to him because of just the sustainability that he has. And, like, it's a similar coaching staff every year. They don't get too fancy. Like, Matt's teams are like, man, what is the floor for Iowa State now? Like 6-7 wins, where back in the day, like you would kill for that. Games, right? So this will be an advantage to some players or some guys in here. But I don't know, like let's see it shake out. We don't need to predetermine everything, especially when you're the SEC and the Big Ten. You already have every advantage known to man. Now you want to stack the deck even more. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, great point on that. I was going to ask you about Campbell. He does have that. This thing is humming along. They've been on the precipice. They've been right there. Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game, obviously, where they've been before. Is he just like, what is it like around Ames when he's around? How do people treat him? Or is he like a rock star? And that's opposite of everything he would want to be.
Yeah, no, he's just so well respected. That's the thing. He, the biggest compliment I can give Matt, and this goes beyond football, is everything that he says he stands for, he truly does, and you see that on a daily basis. Matt doesn't give his time to many people. right? Because if it doesn't have anything to do with winning football games, he generally doesn't want much part of it. But when he does give his time, it's the stuff that truly matters. He coaches his daughter's softball team. The charitable things that he's involved in really matter to him, and he is very, very well respected. It's not, I wouldn't even call it like a rock star thing. Sure, people want their picture with him and they appreciate him and all of that, but it's very, he's very stoic, I think is the best way I would describe Matt. And his football teams play like that, right? Like we saw last year, like I don't know if you guys remember the UCF game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they really shouldn't have won the game.
No.
But they just stuck with it, right? And I thought, you mentioned that Oklahoma Big 12 championship game with Purdy and Hall. Like they really were kind of out of that one. And somehow, like there's so many of these games, these big games where they just, stand pat and stick with their core beliefs. And it usually works out for them. And that's, again, just like at this particular moment in college athletics, I like that for Iowa State in the sense that there's so much uncertainty. As long as they can keep Matt, he provides that. He's kind of that rock, right, with that program. And as long as you have that, I think that your floor is going to be pretty high. Now, what is your ceiling? I don't know. But they've been darn close to winning Big 12 championships. And I like the fact, and this is developing, right, with everything going on in Lubbock with their money and BYU, and Iowa State's never going to win an arms race when it comes to money. But at least now it feels like they're punching at their own weight class, where, and you guys could probably attest to this too. Like it just, like it felt like for so many years, like the best case scenario for Iowa State was that you get a favorable schedule, and it lines up with like the top of a recruiting cycle, and let's go out and see what happens. Well, now, like every week, they can win. Like it not only can they win, but they might be favored in games that you never would have dreamed of. So it's just a totally different feel. But to me, everything around that program is just it takes on the personality of Matt, and stoic is the best way I can describe him.
Also, I mean, they have what he's done is no one else has done is he's got a steady row of quarterbacks that have come in and been good for him. And now Rocco Beck kind of takes on that after, I'm sure that 2 years ago, everybody's like, oh my God, what's going to happen with this? We've got a guy who's gotten kicked out. And then, this guy, JJ Cole, isn't quite as where we want him to be. And, he was all touted. And then here comes Rocco Beck kind of out of nowhere. And he's got a chokehold on it. It's his, and he's the fire of that team. So the combo of coach and quarterback developer, maybe he's a little bit underrated in that nationally.
Yeah. And it doesn't end there, guys. They've got a string of 3 commitments. One is Connor Moberly. He'll be Rocco's backup this year. Alex Mansky, who's already on campus, came on. I believe he was a mid-year guy. And then this Jet kid out of Omaha, Nebraska, that he just got an offer from Alabama as well. So they're on a quarterback run, and you can better believe that Brock Purdy, has something to do with that. It certainly helps. But I personally, I think Rocco, I think he'll be an NFL quarterback in some capacity. I don't know if he'll be a starter. I don't know about his draft position, but you're looking at a coach's kid. I think his best football is still ahead of him at Iowa State. That first year was kind of a whirlwind. I think that last year Rocco was really good. I know he can be better. There were 4 pick sixes. He was under 60% completion percentage. And again, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I know he can be better. I'm really excited to see him as an upperclassman when there's not all that uncertainty coming off of the gambling thing, and he's a more mature film guy now. His dad's talked to me about that a lot, that he's really worked on that hard. And then, it's just these guys behind him. Like the other thing too, that insight into that, like Campbell deserves credit because he creates that culture that these guys want to stay. I think the fact that he keeps promoting from within too, like this Taylor Mauser, hire at coordinator last year, a lot of people are like, oh, first-time coordinator, do you want to do that? Well, part of that deal is these guys are so loyal to Matt because he's so loyal to them. That's why he likes to promote from within. Oh, we got a position coach open up. Let's bring on one of the analysts and give them a chance. It's part of how he keeps that, coaching culture the way it is, and why you have a guy like John Haycock who will stay with him forever, because that's just kind of that feel within that program. So that's been a cool thing to watch them build over the last 10 years or so.
You've talked about a bit about, you mentioned Purdy and then just kind of the string of talent that they've had. Did you ever think when you were interviewing Brock Purdy early on that you were talking to a $250 million man here someday? And just kind of what's been the reaction to that big payday and just the amount of attention that brings and the positivity that brings in a variety of different ways for the program?
But you want to talk about a rock star? That's Iowa State's rock star. That guy, you go into Hilton Coliseum in January and you'll see 100 Brock Purdy 49ers jerseys walking around. Like that you guys got to realize, we don't have many RG3s walking around campus. So when you get a guy like that who and Tyrese Halliburton's the same way right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Who not only, wore your colors, but still comes back all the time. So Brock married a girl, a farmer's daughter from rural Iowa. They're back in Ames all the time. Truly Iowa State fans, like her family is, and the Purdys have been as well. And, the Iowa State fans really appreciate that. And that's the one weapon this place has, is just the loyalty of that fan base. And if you stick it out, even if Brock Purdy wouldn't have done what he's done in the NFL, he still would get a standing ovation every time he walked into that town, because we don't have pro sports in Iowa. Pro sports in Iowa are Iowa and Iowa State. And you can't replace it. It's the Vikings are up there and the Bears are over there and you got the Pack, but the passion and all that, it is not replaceable. That's why George Niang could be the mayor of Ames anytime he wants. Botzelberger hangs it up tomorrow, there's going to be a campaign for George Niang to be the next head coach at Iowa State. Iowa State fans just have this attachment to certain guys, and Purdy is, and he also helps them. He really does. He helps those guys when they ask. He will come on he's come on most of his bye weekends, I want to say, and come back to Ames if they're in town. And he'll meet with recruits like that. It's not for show, but he absolutely helps that football program. And who the guy who discovered him for Iowa State was? Taylor Mauser. He was the I want to say a analyst or something at the time, and he was the one who stumbled upon him. So that's now your offensive coordinator. So those two have a great relationship, and it all goes hand in hand.
Chris, thank you very much. Somebody in the chat wanted to know when Iowa State was going to use that helmet behind you again.
Oh, probably never, unfortunately. But that's the old Clone NATO helmet right there. That's from the McCarney era, baby.
Yeah.
Good stuff right there, though.
Hey, absolutely fantastic. Glad we had time. Appreciate your time.
Guys.
Appreciate it. Chris Williams with the CycloneFanatic.com with a lot of really good stuff. And appreciate his feedback with us on 365 Sports.